God's species of leadership, a divine blueprint for restoring the soul of nations. Chapter 2. The currency of trust, integrity, and accountability. Leadership, when stripped of its titles, pageantry, and motorcades, rests on a single, fragile foundation: trust. In the high-stakes arenas of politics, business, and governance, charisma may open the door, and vision may gather a crowd, but it is integrity that sustains the mandate. Integrity is the currency of leadership. It is the gold standard that backs the words of a ruler. When that currency is devalued, when a leader's word becomes worthless, the nation goes bankrupt, not just financially, but morally. In the context of the developing world, we are witnessing a recession of trust. Our crisis of leadership is not fundamentally a crisis of competence, though that is certainly present. It is, at its root, a crisis of character. It is a systemic lack of accountability and a culture of pathological dishonesty. The ancient wisdom of the Proverbs warns us that righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people. Proverbs chapter 14, verse 34. We often interpret sin in purely religious terms, but in the context of nation building, the deadliest sin is corruption and deceit. Without the ballast of integrity, leaders may rise like rockets, fueled by populism and propaganda, but they will inevitably crash, dragging their nations down into the wreckage with them. The binary code of truth. To understand the gold standard of integrity, we must look to the Christ model. The life of Jesus was a masterclass in congruence. His private life matched his public declaration. He did not govern by polls, manipulation, or spin doctors. He governed by truth, even when that truth led inevitably to the cross. Jesus established a binary code for communication and leadership. In Matthew chapter 5, verse 37, he laid down a rule that, if applied to African politics, would cause a revolution overnight. Let your yes be yes, and your no, no. Anything beyond this comes from the evil one. This is more than a command against lying. It is a framework for stability. A leader's word must be absolute. There should be no gap between the promise and the execution. A leader of integrity does not traffic in ambiguity, doublespeak, or fine print. Contrast this with the modern landscape. We live in an era where political language is designed to make lies sound truthful and murder respectable. Corporate leaders mislead shareholders. Politicians mislead the electorate. In this fog of deception, the straightforwardness of Christ is revolutionary. Jesus was transparent in his relationships and mission. He never manipulated the ignorant or exploited the vulnerable. His life was a consistent expression of his values, something that is all too rare in today's leadership circles. The Academy of Falsehood. I long for the day when African politics will be cleansed of its duplicity. In Nigeria, we have developed a cynical dictionary for political speech. When a leader says yes, the wise citizen prepares for no. If they promise prosperity, brace yourself for austerity. It appears that to prosper in the current political ecosystem, one must enroll in a, quote, falsehood academy. Aspiring leaders are trained in the dark arts of deception. They lie about everything. They lie about their age. They forge their academic certificates to gain eligibility. They invent projects that exist only on paper. They lie about their health status. Their yes is a lie, and their no is a decoy. We have normalized insanity. When a contract is awarded for $200 million, the unwritten rule is that perhaps only $20 million will hit the ground, while the rest vanishes into the vortex of patronage, and no one asks questions. Not the media, not the civil society, and certainly not the anti-graft agencies. When men without integrity seize the levers of power, the entire superstructure of the nation is compromised. The social contract is broken. When people who lack integrity occupy public offices, the trust citizens repose in them dissolves, replaced by apathy and rebellion. The courage of accountability. If integrity is the currency, accountability is the audit. Mistakes in leadership are inevitable. No leader is omniscient. However, a leader who cannot own his failure is too dangerous to lead. In our part of the world, leaders have surgically removed the capacity for shame. They blunder, destroy economies, and ruin lives, yet they do not blush. Instead, they explain away their failures with cavalier arrogance. They treat catastrophic errors as normal. When they leave office and write their memoirs, they sanitize history, presenting themselves as infallible heroes while deleting the chapters that indict them. This revisionism is, in itself, a lack of integrity. True strength is found in the willingness to stand naked before the truth. We see this strength in the life of King David. The David paradigm, the power of confession. David was not a flawless man. In fact, his tenure was stained by a horrific abuse of power. The scandal involving Bathsheba and the subsequent state-sponsored murder of her husband Uriah is one of the darkest chapters in biblical history. David tried to cover it up. He tried to manage the narrative, but God sent the prophet Nathan to confront him. In that moment, David faced a choice that every leader faces when caught: deny or confess. Most modern leaders would choose denial. They would attack the messenger. They would hire a media team to discredit the prophet. They would blame political enemies or saboteurs. David did none of that. He uttered 4 powerful words that are absent from the vocabulary of African leaders. I have sinned against the Lord. 2 Samuel chapter 12, verse 13. He took immediate, total responsibility. He did not consider the political fallout. He did not worry that he might lose his throne. He valued his relationship with God and the truth more than he valued his reputation. This is the test of authentic leadership. It is not what you do when the applause is loud. It is what you do when the curtain is pulled back. Leaders who lack accountability shift blame. But David's example demonstrates that authentic leadership is grounded in honesty, transparency, and a commitment to learn from mistakes. The Samuel standard, the public audit. We see this standard again in the prophet Samuel. At the end of his tenure as the judge of Israel, he did something that would be unthinkable in Abuja, Pretoria, or Nairobi. He called a town hall meeting and subjected himself to a public audit. He challenged the nation. Here I stand. Testify against me in the presence of the Lord and his anointed. Whose ox have I taken? Whose donkey have I stolen? Whom have I cheated? Whom have I oppressed? From whose hand have I accepted a bribe to make me shut my eyes? If I have done any of these things, I will make it right. 1 Samuel chapter 12, verse 3. The silence of the crowd was his vindication. They confirmed that his hands were clean. I ask today, how many presidents, governors, ministers, or Supreme Court justices in Africa could survive such a question? How many could stand before the people they governed and ask, whom have I bribed? From whom have I stolen? Without being stoned by the mob? Eternity will reveal what is hidden from man. It takes leaders who possess the mind of Christ to demonstrate the level of integrity in which they openly confess their errors and are willing to make restitution where and when necessary. Nehemiah, the unshakable leader. Finally, we look to Nehemiah. When his integrity was attacked and his enemies tried to lure him into a trap to destroy his reputation, he refused to flee. Sanballat and Tobiah tried to intimidate him. They spread rumors. They hired false prophets to frighten him into hiding in the temple, which would have been a violation of religious law and a sign of cowardice. Nehemiah's response was a thunderclap of integrity. Should a man like me run away? Or should one like me go into the temple to save his life? I will not go. Nehemiah chapter 6, verse 11. Nehemiah did not run because he had nothing to hide. His accountability to God gave him a backbone of steel. He refused to compromise, refused to be intimidated, and refused to play politics with the destiny of his people. Conclusion. The solution to the African crisis is not more loans, more treaties, or more conferences. It is a new breed of leader. We need men and women who fear God more than they fear losing an election. We need leaders who understand that they are accountable not just to the electorate, but to the eternal judge. Until we have leaders who are willing to say, I was wrong, and I will make it right, we will continue to wander in the wilderness of underdevelopment.